Well, good evening. Welcome to Alpha. My name is David. I will be the host for our next 9 weeks. I will explain a little bit more about what Alpha is in just a little bit, but first, let's eat. So we have got tacos, and it's make it yourself. So we'll have you guys start in line, and we're gonna. So the plan tonight is to eat, have some conversations over dinner. Then we're gonna watch about a 30-minute film, and then we'll take a break, get some brownies and coffee, and then have a small group discussion based on what we watched. So let's dig in. I was told that the salsa in the small bowl will burn your face off salsa. It's very hot, so if you like hot, go for it. If you don't like hot, avoid it. Let's dig in and enjoy your evening. Well, welcome to Alpha. Again, my name is David. I will be your host for the next 9 weeks. Alpha is a series of conversations, 15 to be exact, that we'll have over the next 9 weeks that walk through the basics of what is faith, and it's designed for people across a wide spectrum, from I've never heard about Christianity, I don't know what faith is, to grew up in the church and I've still got questions. And so there's a couple rules to Alpha. First is that all opinions are respected. And that's a hard and fast rule. All opinions are respected as we get engaged in conversation. The second rule is that there's no question that's off limits. So if you come with questions and doubts and fears, and we're here to kind of talk through some of that. Every week we'll have a free meal. Next week it's Zoe's Kitchen. So we look forward to that. You can tell some people to come with you. We'll have a free dinner. We will then watch a 25 to 30-minute film, and then we will break into small group discussions and then talk until about 8 o'clock, and then at 8 p.m. So we're so glad that you're here. At the end of the evening, I ask you to fill out a couple things to give us your name, email address, phone number, so I can reach out to you next week and just remind you. And then also we have a little survey if there's any dietary restrictions and things of that nature that we just need to be aware of as we're providing food for you guys. So, welcome to Alpha.
Every day we ask so many questions. What should I wear? What's the weather going to be like? What's happening today? How am I going to fit everything in? But then there are those bigger questions. Like, why am I here? Where am I heading? Is this it? Is there more to life than this? These are life's big questions, but there's rarely enough time to think them through properly.
We all have different perspectives on the meaning of life and faith, and Alpha is an opportunity to explore life's big questions.
This is a great place to come together and talk about them openly and honestly. I'm Gemma.
I'm Toby.
And this is Alpha.
I go on Google. I go on Wikipedia. Internet. I scroll through all the different answers, and then I try and combine it, and then make my own kind of cornerstone.
Or smart friends.
I don't ask big life questions. It's too hard to answer.
Google. Or my grandmother.
I meditate or I read.
When I have a big life question, I probably go to my family.
I haven't really had any message with things.
My mom or my dad, basically.
My mom and my dad, maybe my grand.
I get most of my answers from the library in any section there, because I don't really trust the people that I'm around.
The key is always to yourself. You gotta figure something out for yourself.
If I'm confused, I go to him first. And he confuses me more.
But when something more personal, I try to find it within myself first.
Friends of mine told me that the first night they came to Alpha, they sat in their car for half an hour waiting and watching people going in, and eventually when they'd seen enough normal looking people going in, they thought they'd give it a try.
And one thing that might be going through your mind is, am I going to be the only one there who doesn't believe all this stuff, who's not a Christian, that doesn't go to church? Well, if that's you, then you're in the right place. Alpha is designed for people who wouldn't call themselves Christians or who are not regular churchgoers.
It might feel a bit strange to be discussing life and faith with people that you've never met before, But the best thing about Alpha is often the great friendships that are formed over the weeks. For much of my life, I was not remotely interested in Christianity. In fact, I don't think I've ever come to something like Alpha. I was not brought up as a Christian. My father was a secular Jew. He was an agnostic, and my mother didn't go to church, and I had no interest at all in Christianity. First of all, I just thought it was so boring. Everything to me about church, Christianity, religion was just dull and dreary. And it kind of made me feel a little bit guilty. I didn't know why, but I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I also thought it was untrue. I thought I sort of thought it through, and I'd come up with these intellectual objections, and I called myself, very pretentiously, I called myself a logical determinist. I quite enjoyed arguing with people who called themselves Christians. And at university, I had a bit of a reputation for being an argumentative atheist. And I also thought it was irrelevant to my life. I couldn't see how someone who lived 2,000 years ago, 2,000 miles away, could have any relevance to my life today. It just seemed outdated and irrelevant. But at the same time, looking back now, I would say something was missing. I say that because I don't think I was living in the moment. I was always looking forward to the next thing in life. So when I was at school, I was thinking, when I finish my exams, maybe that will be when I'm going to really start to enjoy life. I finished my exams, and then after about 3 weeks, I started to think, there's got to be more to life than this. And I thought, well, maybe when I left school, that would be what life's all about. And then I left school, and after about 3 weeks, I started to think, there's got to be more to life than this. I thought, well, maybe the answer is to get a girlfriend. And somehow, I don't know how I managed it, but I managed to find a girlfriend. Again, after about 3 weeks, I started to think, there's got to be more to life than this. And basically, there was something missing. I was longing for more.
The actor Jim Carrey once said, "I wish everyone could get rich and famous and have everything they've ever dreamed of, so they would know that's not the answer." Some people dream of having their name in lights, of fame and fortune. Some people dream of finding happiness through relationships, careers, money, whatever it may be. But do you ever get that niggly feeling that, as good as those things are, there must be more to life?
Yeah, all too often, life just doesn't turn out the way we think it should. And even when it does, and we achieve our wildest dreams, it's somehow never quite enough. It just doesn't satisfy. It's like there's something missing. The comedian and actor Russell Brand said, "Drugs and alcohol are not my problem. Reality is my problem. Drugs and alcohol are my solution to fill up a hole inside me." Jesus said, "I am the bread of life." In other words, I'm the one who fulfills the longing that's deep inside every human heart. Jesus claimed to be the one person who can satisfy that spiritual hunger.
Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of the rock group Queen, had amassed a huge fortune and attracted millions of fans. But he admitted in an interview shortly before his death that he was desperately lonely. He said this, "You can have everything in the world and still be the loneliest man, and that's the most bitter type of loneliness. Success has brought me world idolization and millions of pounds, but it's prevented me from having the one thing we all need, a loving, ongoing relationship."
Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Ultimately, there's only one relationship that is totally loving and goes on forever, and that's a relationship with God. And Jesus said, "I am the way to that relationship."
Maybe money?
What makes me happy? Music. Music, ice cream, and cheese.
Sleep makes me happy. I can't say my friends, club,
Dogs.
alcohol, women, pretty much. The idea of life in general makes me happy. Clothes, women. What's left in this?
That's a really good question.
I don't know. I'll tell you.
I think we're supposed to learn a couple of things. There's nothing more. I'm still figuring that out, to be honest.
No. Let's live in the moment.
Absolutely. I strongly believe that there's more to life than this.
No idea. Sorry.
When I was about 17, I was sitting having a burger with two friends, and we were looking out the window and commenting on a few of the stores across the street, and I suddenly realised that I couldn't read any of the signs, even if I squinted. So I asked if I could borrow one of my friend's pair of glasses,
And as soon as I put them on, I realized I could see everything, like colors, shapes, words. I was amazed at how everything was so clear. And I could see before, but now I could really see. And to me, that's the best way to describe the difference that Jesus makes. Jesus is the lens through which we see God. And he's also the lens by which we see the world in a totally different way.
Jesus said, I am the truth. Some people's response to a Christian might be, well, it's great for you, you found meaning and purpose in your life, but it's not for me. But when you think about it, that's not actually a logical position, because if Christianity is true, it's a vital influence to every one of us. And if it's not true, it's not great for us, because it means we're deluded. C.S. Lewis was one of the great intellectual giants of the 20th century, probably best known as the author of the Chronicles of Narnia. He said this: Christianity, if false, is of no importance, and if true, of infinite importance. The only thing it cannot be is moderately important. I come from a family of lawyers, so naturally I wanted to look at the original documents and sources. I never really looked at the evidence before, and I was astonished at how much evidence there is for the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. For me, it was through reading these documents that we find in the New Testament that I came to the conclusion, it's true. One of the last cases I did as a lawyer was in the Court of Appeal in front of Lord Denning, an absolutely brilliant mind, perhaps the greatest judge of the 20th century. He said on one occasion that his Bible was his most tattered book in his library. He'd examined the evidence really carefully, and he came to the conclusion, it's true. One former professor of history at Oxford University described the resurrection as the best attested fact in history. I hadn't realized how many of the pioneers of modern science were believers. Descartes, Newton, Kepler, Galileo, Locke, Copernicus, Faraday, Kelvin, Pasteur. Francis Collins, one of the greatest scientists of our times, director of the Human Genome Project, mapping the 3 billion letters in the human DNA, considered by many to be the most significant scientific undertaking of our time. He describes how he encountered Jesus and came to believe in the truth of Christianity.
Well, in the home where I grew up, faith was not something that was talked about very much. My father was a professor of drama, my mother a playwright. When I went to college and those discussions in the dorm late at night about religion began to occur, I had no particular reason to attach value to a faith system. It had never been something I was familiar with or had internalized at all. And I assumed that any religious feelings that anyone held must be on the basis of some emotional experience, and I didn't trust those, or on the basis of some childhood indoctrination, which I felt I was fortunate to have missed. I loved the experience of learning about the human body and all of the components of that, and I particularly loved being introduced to genetics. But then I ended up in the medical school curriculum sitting at the bedside of patients with diseases. This was no longer an abstract study of molecules and organ systems. These were real people. And one afternoon, one of my patients, a wonderful elderly woman, much like a grandmother, who had very bad heart disease. She had a particularly bad episode of chest pain while I was with her. She got through it, and at the end of that, explained to me how her faith was the thing that helped her in that situation. She realized that the doctors around her weren't really giving her that much help, but her faith was. And after she finished her own very personal description of that faith, she turned to me, and I had been silent. And she looked at me quizzically, and she said, "What do you believe, doctor?" And ultimately, I had to admit to myself that her question had made me realize that I had arrived at an answer to the most important issue that we humans ever deal with. Is there a God? And I had arrived there without ever really looking at the evidence. And I was supposed to be a scientist. If there's one thing scientists claim they do, is to arrive at conclusions based upon evidence. And I hadn't taken the trouble to do that. I was greatly assisted by a pastor who lived down the road, who I went and asked about all this, and who gave me a copy of C.S. Lewis's wonderful book, Mere Christianity. Because here was an Oxford scholar, a prodigiously developed intellect, who had traveled the same path within those pages, I realized for the first time that one can come to believe on a rational basis, and that in fact, given the many pointers that one sees around oneself in terms of the universe and it having a beginning, and its fine-tuning in terms of the way in which all those constants that determine the behavior of matter and energy seem to have been set just in a certain very precise range to make life possible. And many other things, including my beloved mathematics and why they actually work anyway to describe the universe, something that makes you think the Creator must have been a mathematician. That brought me then to the person of Jesus Christ as a person who was historically extremely well documented. That was news to me. I thought Christ was as much myth as history, and I realized after reading more about it, this was a historical figure upon which we have a great deal of evidence for his existence and his teachings, and even his rising from the dead in a literal way. That day at my patient's bedside started a journey for me. A journey that I was reluctant to begin, but I felt I needed to. A journey that I thought would result in strengthening my atheism, but to my surprise, resulted in my conversion.
There's a difference between knowing facts about someone and really knowing them personally. Now, I've known my husband Phil for 3 years now, but suppose if before we met, I found him on a website called The Amazing Man. Now, there's no doubt I would have looked at him and thought, okay, I'm intrigued. But what if each page was dedicated to his amazing abilities, his sparkling personality, his tender heart, his extraordinary intelligence, and his cooking abilities? Well, I would think, wow, he does sound like an amazing person. But that's head knowledge. But I also have the privilege of being married to him, and I know that he's an amazing person, which is knowledge that comes from the experience of relationship, and that's heart knowledge.
When Jesus said, I am the truth, he was talking about more than just a kind of intellectual truth. The Hebrew understanding of truth was truth as experienced. And there's a big difference between a kind of intellectual knowledge and a personal knowledge, between your head and your heart. So when someone says, I know Jesus is the truth, they're not just talking about being convinced of the evidence. They're also talking about experiencing a relationship with the risen Jesus Christ. So Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and lastly he said, I am the life. I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. Jesus came to deal with the things in our lives that stop us from enjoying life to the full, the things that spoil our lives.
I hate shopping. I loathe it. I think I'm allergic to shopping. But occasionally my wife persuades me to go shopping. And just after Christmas, it was the sales, and she persuaded me to go shopping. We went into the shop and we bought this very nice new sweater, the same colour as all my other sweaters. And we left the shop and we went to buy a present for her. We went into this ghastly shop. It was so crowded. It was unbelievable. And even Pippa had had enough. She said, okay, we're leaving. So we went to leave. And as we left, the security alarm went off. And the security guys moved in very quickly. And they stopped us all from leaving. And like the crowd that was trying to leave was stopped. And the crowd that was trying to come in was stopped. And we were there, right in the middle. The 6 of us who were going through the security at that one time were all taken off and sectioned off from all the rest. And they wanted to see which one of the 6 of us had set off the alarm. So they sent one of them through, and that was fine. They obviously hadn't set it off. Then they sent the next one through. They obviously hadn't set it off. Then the 3rd, then the 4th. None of them set it off. So it was left with Pippa and I were standing there, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm married to a shoplifter. It must be Pippa who's got set off the alarm. So they sent her through, and she didn't set it off. So I thought, oh my goodness, I've obviously got something. Someone must have planted something on me. I'm going to be arrested, I'm going to be sent to prison. All the crowd were watching, both sides. They were just watching this criminal being caught going through. So they went through, and as I went through, the alarm went off. They took me to the side. They opened up my rucksack on my back, and there they found this sweater from the other shop with the tag still on it. I felt so guilty. That was like false guilt. I also sometimes experience true feelings of guilt because I do things that are not right and are not good. And this is the wonderful news that God loves you and he loves me. God came in the person of his Son, Jesus Christ, to die for you and for me. And on the cross, he took all of your guilt, all of my guilt, everything you've ever done wrong, everything I've ever done wrong, said wrong, thought wrong, and he died in our place in order that we could be forgiven. And forgiveness, C.S. Lewis said, is like a recording of our life, wiped completely clean. And when we receive that forgiveness, we find life, and life in all its fullness. And that's what Jesus wants for you and for me. Life in all its fullness. Life at its very, very best.
I think for so many years, I always just strived to be strong in myself. And it was as if all I needed was me and my buddies and, we'd be like invincible. But the truth is, none of us are. And I don't want to do this thing called life. I don't want to do it on my own. And it kind of feels like my longing for this light inside is now stronger than my fear of what others might think. And people often ask, well, doesn't that make faith like a crutch? And, well, maybe, but, what does a crutch do? A crutch helps you stand, and it makes you stronger. And in that case, sure, I need a bit of that. But especially when it's so much more than that. When this faith inside is also like a backbone, helping me stand tall, and helping me be strong when I'm really up against it, facing those odds, whether it's on a mountain or stuck in some jungle, or just dealing with the storms, with the storms of life. Sure, I need it, I need that. But at heart, my Christian faith says that I'm known to Christ, bought at a price, blessed with light. Faith says that we're loved, regardless of our mess, regardless of how many times we fall down. And that Jesus somehow picks me up. And sure, I'll reach out to that. Why wouldn't I?
I used to think Christianity was boring, untrue, and irrelevant. But when I read about Jesus, I realized he was anything but. Jesus said he's the way to God. He's the one who brings meaning and purpose to your life. He said he's the truth. He said he's the life. The true fulfillment is found in a relationship with God through him.
Alpha is a place where you can be yourself. You can say what you think and challenge everything. No question is too complex or too simple. And what your point of view is as important as anyone else's.
And over the weeks ahead, we are going on a journey together. An adventure to explore the questions of life, faith, and meaning. Think of it this way. If you live to be 70, you're going to spend 20 years and 3 months asleep. 10 years and 5 months watching TV. 5 years and 9 months in some form of transportation. 7 years and 6 months eating and drinking. You have approximately 570,000 hours left to live. So why not spend less than 24 of them asking life's biggest questions?
Welcome to Alpha.
All right, so we wanted to get an opportunity to get to know each other a little bit better. So our agenda for our conversation is a little lighter than most normal weeks because we want to get to know each other a little bit. So we're going to play the name game. Obviously we've all got name badges on, but we're going to add an adjective to our name that starts with the first letter of our name, and we're going to go around with those who have done it. Like, if I start, he's got to do mine. She's got to do his and mine. She's got to, you see what I mean?
This is never going to happen.
Can we take notes?
We'll have fun. My name's David, and so let's do an adjective that describes your person. I'm going to go with delightful. So I am delightful David.
Delightful David, and I'm adventurous Adam.
All right. I like it.
Delightful David, adventurous Adam, and we'll just go with spunky. I'll go Stacy.
Okay, delightful David, adventurous Adam, spunky Stacy, and kind Kay.
Delightful David,
Adventures Adam.
Yeah.
Alright, Spunky Stacy and Kate. Kind. Okay. Thank you. And yeah, it's gonna be patient cat.
Patient Pat.
Delightful David, Adventures Adam, Spunky Stacy, Kate. And Lioness.
Ooh, I like it. Lioness.
Delightful David, Adventures Adam, Spunky Stacy, Kind Kay, Patient Pat, Linus, Leanne, and then I'll start with the Z.
Z's hard.
Yeah.
Zany.
Like that. Oh.
Zany.
Zealous Xander.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds
right.
Sounds like a conqueror.
Delightful David, Adventurous Adam, Spunky Stacy, Kind Kay, Patient Pat, Linus, and Zealous Z. I'm Larry Lonnie.
Larry?
What is it?
Larry.
Leary. Gotcha.
Larry
Lonnie. Larry Lonnie. Say that 5 times fast.
Delightful David, Adventurous Adam, Spunky Stacy, Kind Kay, Patient Pat, Lioness Leanne, Zealous Xander, Leary Lonnie, Magic Mike.
Okay. Delightful David, Adventurous Adam, Spunky Stacy,
Yes.
Kind Kay, Patient Pat, Lioness Leanne, Zealous Xander, Leary Lonnie, and Magic Mike, and Jam and Josh.
Delightful David, Adventurous Adam, Spunky Stacy, Kind Kate, Patient Pat, Linus Leanne, Zealous Xander, Larry Lonnie, Magic Mike, Jam and Josh.
That's right.
And Jovial John.
Jovial John.
There's no more J's.
Wait, say it again. What does that mean?
Jovial.
Happy. Who's jovial? Kind of lighthearted.
Oh, I thought you said Joe Bill.
Delightful David. Oh my gosh. Billy, Adventurous Adam, Spunky Stacy, Kind Kate, Patient Pat, Linus Leanne, Zealous Xander, Larry Lonnie, Magic Mike, Jam and Josh, whatever he said,
Jovial.
I don't know the word. Jovial John and Sassy Sunny.
Okay, this is going to be great. I'm not going to mess this up at all. Delightful David, Adventurous Adam, Spunky Stacy, Kind Kate, Patient Pat, bugging on that one, Lioness Leanne, Zealous Xander, Larry Lonnie, Magic Mike, Jam and Josh, Joe, Bill, John? Yeah?
I feel you.
I
feel you.
Okay. And what did we say? Sassy Sunny? And I'm going to go with Ecstatic Elizabeth.
Am I supposed to say my name, or do I say...
Start with me, go around, and then
Delightful David, Adventurous Adam, and then I'm going to go Leary Lonnie, Zealous Xander, Magic Mike, Jam and Josh, Patient Pat, right there, Kind Kay, Spunky Stacy. See, my mind works different than you guys. I don't go in this order. And then, let's see, Linus, that's it. Who did I miss? Oh, this is Jovial, right? Is it? Okay. And then, Sassy.
There you
Sassy.
go.
And I have to come up with, is that everybody?
No.
Oh, it's Electric?
You had it right first.
Okay. Egotistical? And I'll be jiving Jason.
So if there was one person from history that you could be stuck with on an elevator, who would it be and why?
Monet.
And why?
would love to understand how his mind works, how he sees what he sees, how he sees the beauty, and is able to turn it abstract and capture the same type of natural beauty that he intended.
I always thought maybe he was nearsighted. I always thought maybe he was nearsighted.
Could have been. Seriously, I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny what troubles make art. Share.
Abraham Lincoln would have too much to say. Joni Mitchell would have to sing.
I don't know. I have a million, but I think it'd still come back to Led Zeppelin. I think I'd have to.
Why?
So that you can say that you stood by Robert Plant. That's it. It's like, then you can just die. He doesn't even need to say anything. You're just like, that's Robert Plant.
I'm surprised nobody has said an elevator repair guy.
David, nobody has the level of fear as you. Only you would think like that.
George Washington.
George Washington?
Why?
I have so many questions.
So many good mysteries.
I want to know first name.
Did you really chop down that cherry tree?
Does it really have a wooden tip?
I'm with David.
From the Bible?
That's a good one.
That is a good one. That's a good Bible.
How did you not think of that one?
I haven't gone yet.
Oh.
I wasn't wasting mine on the elevator repair. I was just offering that up for everybody.
Does it have to be somebody famous?
No.
Okay, well then it would be my family members, all deceased. So I could say all the things I never said.
I'd love to sit down, Paul. Paul, can you broke it down just a little bit more for the dummies in the group? So my wife says she wants to kick him in the shin.
I'll take an ounce of that wisdom, though. I get that.
Kay, I think I'm going to steal yours. I would like to sit with my grandfather again, as a man who lost everything he owned twice in life. Went through World War II, almost got horribly sick in the war, and was a man who helped build my hometown. He was not a great businessman, but he was loved by everybody. There's so much I would like to ask him now, and tall tales that he told.
Well, actually, I have one more. I'll start thinking, I'll come up with some more. In the sermon, what was it, from Proverbs, I think, at Marvin last Sunday, there was the scripture reading mentioned the fact that Jesus always told stories and parables. And then when he was along with the disciples, he explained it all to them. It's like, well, why didn't you write that down? So I guess it would be the authors.
Anybody else? Well, let's go around the room. And how and why did you end up coming here today?
Curiosity.
I think within the walls of church, it can feel a little intimidating to ask some hard questions. And, even as somebody who's been a believer for, more than half my life, I think you get to that point, and it might even be like subconsciously where you feel kind of like, oh, I think I've got to know like all the answers now, and the truth is like there's still like hard things, and when you go through hard things, there's still doubt that creeps in, so it's like just because you've been a believer for so long doesn't mean that you still don't have questions, or so it's still like, although I'm here to serve, like I'm still like, yeah, this is gonna be great to hear what kind of questions there are.
I'm kind of like that too. I find that my faith waxes and wanes. So I guess I'm here for a fix.
I like that.
Because I still have questions too. Some things trouble me.
I'm here because of you. So I think I signed up for the course because I wanted to stop my intellect from fighting with my soul, which it tends to have done all my life since I've been a very, very young man. And I think it's from being around a wide spectrum of people, but now I have this person in my life and have had him for a while. And so I started going to Marvin in January, and we attended Green Acres, and he still goes there for the program and all that. But I just didn't want to all of a sudden, because before I didn't go to church, it never felt right. The Baptist, nothing against the Baptist at all. I just felt bad in their church from 6 years old on, before I was ever bad enough to you know, feel bad. And I felt differently at Marvin and listening to you speak, and I kind of wanted to be a better example for him in a real way, not a, we're doing this because, you know, sorry, by God we ought to, you know, we're going to do it. And I wanted him to, not him, but I wanted to develop enough in me that him or anyone else could see that it was genuine. It wasn't see-through. It was.
You wanted to show me that you go to church because you want to, not because you're supposed to.
See, work. Good night.
I came because, I mean, David's talked about it before, but then it also came up in a MOPS conversation of mine with my international buddies in the UK. And they were like, what's the next step after if you have a mom questioning in MOPS? Where do you lead her? And their first thing was Alpha, and I went, oh, hey, guess what? We have that in our church in Tyler, so why don't I go ahead and go?
So this is the second time we've done Alpha, and the last time was the first time that we had done it. And I won't speak for all the leaders, but for me, it was it caused me to have questions and things that I didn't know I had questions about, but it stretched me in the process, and I really enjoyed that. It was something that got me back to the roots of things, to get at the nugget deep down into some big issues, and I facilitated it, but got as much out of it as other people did who were taking it. So it was good. I've been looking forward to doing it again. So if it turned out that there was a God after all, and you could ask one question, what would it be?
I thought my ex-wife had a great one. Who made you? That is a really overwhelming question a lot of people ask, no offense.
Mine would be eternity, I guess. Because like usually when I think about it, it doesn't scare me, but it makes me feel uncomfortable. Because like here, like I know I'm gonna die, you know, but like eternity, it's forever. Like, do you ever just kind of think about that?
I did. I thought it would be boring.
You know, that's what I thought too. Like once you, I mean, millions of years. I mean, I know heaven is great. I don't know. It seems like a lot. Like in here, like I know I'm gonna die. I know it's gonna end. But I've tried asking like different people about it. Nobody's really like. The main answer I get is trust, which I understand that. Like just trust in Him, it'll be okay. But it seems like a long time. Like I don't know if I want to live for eternity.
I feel like you get tired after a while.
Yeah, I don't think that we feel the lapse of time like we do. As someone explained it to me, that I'd never quite correlated time that way, is that we have such a longing for a relationship, and like he said, you know, we put things in that perspective of like, once I get married, or once I have a kid, or once I own a house, once I have a successful business, then like I'll feel fulfilled. But we're constantly longing for this eternal relationship that's the only thing that kind of fills that void. And I feel like personally, once that connection finally happens and we're finally where we're supposed to be doing what we're supposed to be doing, it really won't feel like time.
You just kind of forget about it.
Yeah. I don't know, it's ever like, you know, going to a party and you're having a great time, and all of a sudden you look at your watch and you're like, oh my gosh, it's 2 a.m., you know,
Yeah.
You're like, didn't even feel it. I think it's kind of like that, like you're not really worried about it.
Yeah, you kind of like, I got to play this harp and sing for how long? I heard it said that, you know, because God is not subjected to time or space.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, once you join Him, you know, you're not looking at your watch every day to get up, or, you know, whatever it is, you know, the time is just absent, you know.
It'd be a blessing to be in a place where time doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It's just a Robert Williams movie that he had where it was Heaven and Hell. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, I know.
His wife died.
And heaven was stunningly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like water and flowers and cliffs and trees and no predators, all this stuff, you know. And then the hell was a perfect hell for me. Or my perception of hell was just a swamp with death floating in it, you know, which was gross. But I was gonna add that it was interesting. Don Coe, you know him. No, really is the reason I'm here, because he introduced me. Blah blah blah. His uncle just passed away a couple days ago, so I was talking to him today, and they're old. He was 87, so they're of that generation, you know. And it's always used to freak me out, but he said right before he died, I guess his daughter and 2 other people were in the room. And so he awoke for a minute and said, I just need 30 more minutes. Can you give me just 30 more minutes? And during that 30 minutes, he talked to his daughter and family about that God didn't say he could give him 30 minutes, but he did tell him that his brother, Donald's father, and sister, and mom and dad were waiting for him there. So that, again, the intellectual versus spiritual argument, is it brain function shutting down and you begin to somewhat hallucinate in a non-chemical induced hallucination just by oxygen deprivation? Or, and is this something you yearn for, that you want, you speak out about it? Or really happening? And I have, at this point, no tangible proof to want to believe one or the other, that he's crazy or that it was actually happening. Not crazy, I don't mean, but you know, just at the time. But I just, he told me that right before I came up here. I was talking to him on the phone, and it was just astonishing to hear him say that, because he said the old man was completely clear about it. It was lucid, and God ended up not giving him 30 minutes, he gave him 20. You know, which is, you know, I don't know. It amazes me if that's truly, because I've heard several of those near-death experiences and read about them, and it's interesting because there's a lot of similarity to them. You know, and you know, you can scientifically talk about the light and all that. Your iris is just, you know, your body shutting down. But man, there's for lucid, sane people to be right at death's door and it not be immediate like that. There's a moment for them to, you know, talk and reflect and share just for a few minutes. That's moving, man. I mean, because they said he was completely at peace. Like, he didn't seem in pain, he was smiling.
My dad, when he passed away 2 years ago, I hadn't seen him in probably 25 years. And he had some mental issues, and he ended up kind of just homeless and wandering, and we didn't even know where he was. But somehow they were able to contact us. Anyway, I made it to the hospital before he passed away, and I hadn't seen him in forever. And he knew me, and he said the first thing, he said, my dad's calling me home, and I want to go to the doctors to just let him go. His dad passed away years before that. And it was interesting because somebody in the family had to make a decision to let him go. And I just happened to be the first one to get to the hospital. But I've seen it many, many times. I've been in ministry for many years. But to me personally, to have it happen, yes, I also saw that. And I watched how he left this earth and resolved every issue. He had hours, and then it was over. And he did everything he needed to do, coherent for the moment he was. And then they came in, made him comfortable, and he never spoke again, but he said everything he needed to say, was very coherent during it. Hadn't been before, and then wasn't after, and then he just left. And I totally believe that. I absolutely do.
Yeah, I think I firmly believe, like, that God uses, you know, when you talk about all the, like, scientific, what happens when you pass and all those things, I think those things work together. And I think, I don't know if it's just the way the culture is, like, programmed us to think, like, here's faith and here's science and they're separate. I genuinely think, like, God uses, like, our reality because he created it. He created all the, like, little intricate details of how we experiencing him. So seeing him on that level of, like, oh, this is what happens scientifically when the people are describing these experiences of seeing light. That's the only way they know how to describe it, but there's definitely there's something happening that a scientist could view it from a different perspective, you know? So that's where I think it's fully possible that all those things are happening at the same time, you know? And it's just, somebody knows how to describe it better than I do in a different way.
That's what the Cloney guy was saying. I mean, is that the point of alpha? Is it, it's called alpha, which is a scientific term anyway. It's also a biblical term, but it's a scientific term. And just about everybody that was on the, he didn't have any idiots on the screen. They're all intellectual people, and especially, I guess, you get like a medical physicist or whatever he was, where, and you see that, and again, there are a lot of my friends that are just on the other side of me, like the agnostic side of me, in my intellectual friend group. And then I've got my, other friend group, the good old boys or whatever. It just seems like the more sophisticated I find people, the less faithful most of the time. So I'm looking to make that connection somehow. I don't see why they should be mutually exclusive. And my brother, his uncle, he's 27-year-old attorney. Just the whole world he's got right here in his mind, So we're driving in his new car, and he called Jesus a zombie. And I was like, wow, man, if you could just open the door so I could jump out. I mean, it really creeped me out, and then we got into a discussion about it because I told him it made me uncomfortable for him to be that blasphemous. To me, that's just about as dark as it's going to get. And so we had a talk, and he called me the same thing David Dyke suggested that we wear like lukewarm Christian, and you either are or you aren't, and all this kind of stuff. And once again, it was this, I'm in this conversation with this kid that's bright. I mean, he's super bright, but it's like he refuses to look at it in a way of plausibility. He only wants to look at it in either black and white or not. I'm not sure faith is fact-based. It's faith, isn't it?
Yes and no. You will find that when they will have, Francis Collins, who mapped the human genome and is considered to be one of the greatest scientists of the 21st century. They'll have the guy convicted of murder that found Jesus in jail. And so you'll find a vast array of people. The videos are meant to show fact, but also open the door to have a conversation about faith. I like what Gumbel, what's his first name?
Ryan?
No, the main guy on the video. The guy in the blue sweater.
The British guy with amazing teeth.
Yeah, he was a lawyer.
He's a barrister.
Yeah, well,
barrister.
Great.
He was a lawyer. He's an Anglican. He's an Anglican priest, but he approaches it from the logical perspective because he got in to look at the facts, and it was from looking at the facts that he found faith. So I think one of the things that we'll get into as we have conversations is that every one of us has a very unique personality type, and what is necessary for me to believe something may be very different than what is necessary for you to believe something, because you have a very different makeup of personality type. All the different personality tests, the Enneagram, the Myers-Briggs, the Berkman, all of these different things that tell us how we function and how we interact. And so every one of us is so vastly different that for some it's the emotional that makes everything click. For others, it's the super logical, like black and white, show me the numbers, show me the dates, show me the facts, and I want sources. And then there are those that are in between. And so Alpha, I think, does a good job of mixing what types to try to reach varying personalities.
But I do agree with you that it is extremely difficult when someone is established and, has, like you said, the world at their fingertips. It's much harder, even biblically, he'll say it's harder to convince a man who has a lot of money and a lot of wealth because they feel like they don't need a God. They feel like they are kind of mini gods. They're invincible. I have everything that I could possibly want. And that rock bottom for different people is different. And I always, I have friends on all spectrums of this, whether it be money or demographics or whatever it be, but I think that I always tell people just, don't test God, because he'll show himself to you. He will reveal himself to you. Don't make it to where he has to make himself blatantly seen. You know, you want to go searching for him in a place kind of like this where it's kind of safe and you can find the answers that you want to. If he's got to find you in your real life, it may be a lot rockier and harder and a lot more blatant. That's just kind of my take on it. But it may not be till he's much older. It may be something hard happens. I know for my dad didn't come to Christ until his friend died from being drunk behind the wheel of a car, and him having to, you know, find out that he wasn't ever going to wake up again, and they thought they were invincible. I mean, you're young and you got money and you party all the time and you think it's never going to end. And to have to see it through someone else's pain was worse than I think that it had even happened to him. So, and he still lives with that. So I agree with you. It's different for everybody.
See, I was that guy at 27. 2 years ago, I was that guy. So my personal testimony hits exactly where your 27-year-old nephew or whoever that was is. Money, cars, whatever. You name it, I had it. Or you name it, I probably did it. So, and I'm not bragging. I'm telling you where my path led. And I don't care who you are, at the end of the day, there's only so much you can throw into that hole. You can throw money, you can throw women, you can throw drugs, you can throw all kinds of things at it, and nothing's going to help. And at the end of the day, you're just going to come to the conclusion that I'm missing something. I don't know when it's going to be. He may be 65, he may be 75, he may be 28. For me, it came when I was 41. So he's going to have that moment when he realizes, hey, what have I done? I got all this stuff around me, and I'm still, something's missing. And then he's going to have that moment. And that's when the Holy Spirit shows up.
I love the Jim Carrey quote that they had.
Yeah.
Because if you've tracked his career at all, and I've watched some of his things, he's been on Netflix and various shows and interviews, and he's just in a very, very different place than he was at the height of his career in the 90s. And then what was the other guy?
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. And
they quoted Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
I mean, I was all in then. Seriously, if you look at, I mean, it Sing with Monet, or all these artists are so tormented. So probably what they suffered through is millions of times worse than what anybody sitting here at this table struggles with their faith on, because, you know, it's unbelievable. But I want to revise something I said to you. You're not the reason I'm here. I have faith that God's the reason I'm here, because He burned down my house and I'm here. I think that's that's what got me. You know, I mean, just watch the whole thing go up. And
so he really revealed himself.
Well, I came home.
So you have something in common with Moses.
And my neighbor had a stroke, and I asked this moron right here to go mow his yard, and I would pay my son to mow his yard. He had a stroke. So come back, and it looked like a dog chewed the yard. You know, I mean, it was just, he did it, but it was as half as you can imagine. So I got really upset, that disappointed kind of upset that fathers get. You know, just, you're not angry, but you're just like, golly, you know, I thought there was more substance in this.
Put all my clothes in my dirty clothes basket, put it in the back of the truck, took me to my mom, dropped me off, left.
So I wouldn't be mean to him, because I really thought I can be vicious sometimes, and I thought that I would be mean to him and say hurtful things to him and away. So I get down on my living room floor, I get on my knees and I pray to God, God, please, he's a great kid, just let me reach him, let me show him what's important in life. And that night, he burned the house down. And it worked.
Well, that night.
That night. I kid you not, I was
which is ironic, because my question, if there's a God after all, and I could ask one question, would be, why are you so difficult to find sometimes? Because sometimes you're easy and sometimes it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
No question.
It really shows you how much like stuff you really have and how much stuff we take for granted. Because like, you know, walking into the house after it burned down, like our house is like a U-shape, right? So this half was completely gone. Okay, and it was just like everything's gone. It's just gone like that. And that kind of clicked like when you die.
Yeah. all your stuff here is it's gone. Can't take it with you.
Prayer's answered.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? I mean, just the mysterious way thing.
Who are we looking for him then? Because I think of Mary Magdalene, who he's like standing right in front, she's right in front of him, and she doesn't recognize him. He's not gonna come looking all the time like we think, but he's there. I think that's the number one misconception we have to understand, is it's not that he's not there, it's just we're not seeing him. We're not seeing him in the form he's taken to reach us. Sometimes it's just a gentle whisper, or it's a newborn baby in your hands, or it's at the funeral of someone. I mean, he's always going to be there. It's who are we looking for when we're looking for him? Because are we looking for a father? Are we looking for a savior? Are we looking for a protector? We're always looking for him in a different role. And sometimes that role isn't necessarily the role he wants to play in our life at that moment. So we may go to church because we're looking for a savior, but he's been sitting at home the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to kind of sometimes rearrange how we mortals think into a supernatural kind of amorphous of, like, you know, is it in the wind? Is it in, you know, a walk that we're taking, a stream that we're going by? Is he, you know, sometimes it's just a very oblique way of him trying to communicate with us that isn't so manifested. And we tend to look for tangible, but sometimes it's in a person who we run into the store with who comes up to you like randomly and asks you, like, hey, you got 50 cents on you? Because, you know, Lord, I can't get to whatever, and you're just like, oh yeah, you're so busy, you're like, yeah, you're just whatever. You don't know that that's not God using this guy to slow you down for a minute. Or someone cuts you off on the road and, you know, you're yelling because you're trying to get somewhere really soon. And I do this all the time. That's why she's laughing about patience, because I'm super impatient in a car. I'm like, you know, I've got kids in my car, I want to get there, I don't want some fool just like coming in and out. But sometimes I really do think, and I say, that car did that, because I don't know what's down the road. I don't know what's waiting for me. God's trying to protect me by putting this really slow person right there. You know, I think sometimes we just have to kind of stop and think what he's doing already in our lives every single day that isn't the big, like, ooh, here I am, Jesus moment. But he's working in our lives every single moment. And, you know, we get mad at our kids, or we get mad at our spouses, and we forget, like, in a second, that could all be gone, you know. So you take the little things and you say, that's not important, because what is important, and that's the eternal, which I think is what Sanders saying, is like, what is the purpose of being there for forever? I think because it took so damn long to realize how important that forever is. That once you're there, you don't ever want to go. We've spent our whole life looking for it, or waiting for it, or waiting to experience it. So enjoy it.
Any final questions? We only got a couple more minutes.
What was the question?
If there was a God after all, and you could ask one question, what would it be?
I guess one thing I struggle with is, why is faith easier for some people and harder for others?
And I struggle with the tension between humans having free will and God being there guiding us.
I think it kind of goes back to like what Dave was saying earlier. I think it's a personality trait. I mean, I know that I am like the first to run into a burning building, but I am also the person at home that will be like, if anybody's house is going to burn down, it's going to be mine. I'm the most pessimistic person on the face of the planet, but like, ask me to volunteer for something, I'll totally do it. That's just my personality. But then I know people who like could go through hell and they wake up every morning like the most optimistic. It's like sometimes like Kate comes into Bible study with like her 5 kids under 5 and her like hand-cooked meal and everything. It's just like, I went to 4 stores today and I da-da-da-da-da, and I'm like, I didn't have time to take a shower. But that's, yeah, you're awesome.
Any last questions? And we're going to have to...
I have one more. I would ask him, when am I praying and when am I just thinking to myself?
I'd say, is there a difference? My prayers sound like conversations, and I think that that's the best way I can talk to him, is to just talk to him like a person. I heard a pastor once saying, I've never forgotten this, that like, if you went through a drive-through window, would you be like say the person's name is John, and you're like, John, dear John, I just really want to say, John, that I'd like to order, John, a Big Mac, John, and if you could throw in some fries, John, I would really just say, and sometimes we get like that, we're like, God, dear God, please God, I pray that you, the God, would just be here, God, and just overwhelm us, God. And so it just, like, ever since I heard that, it's like ruined it. And so I literally will be in my car, and I have full-blown, he calls them the most expensive prayers on the face of the planet, because I get on the toll road, and I drive really fast, and I yell at God. And because that's how I communicate, is I just like to get it all out, and then I'm fine.
Yes, and we both do that.
Do you take the toll road back?
Yes, stop. I spend $100 on the toll road and do not touch me. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think that I think that if it's genuine and it's what you need to say, there isn't a difference.
The Bible only gave us one instruction, right, or one example is when Jesus prayed the Lord's Prayer. It's not like it's filled with a ton of instructions on how to do it. So that kind of tells me that it's kind of up to you how you pray. I mean, people pray in different ways.
I had a friend of mine who would get up every morning at 5 a.m. in seminary and pray for an hour prostrate on the floor of his room. Wow. I tried that once. And I did. So my prayer life looked very different than his, but it doesn't mean I don't have one. Mine did much more short spurt prayers.
Arrow prayers.
Huh?
Arrow
prayers. Very specific. And
I have a friend who calls them text to God. It's like I just sent a text out.
I used to go to
40 characters or less.
I used to go at our old church. We were really involved in that church, and I always thought that people had to say their prayers all big and wordy and with big words and all this stuff. And I was like, I just can't do it. I can't do that. Well, this one particular girl in this women's group, she'd be like, in front of all of us, and she'd just go, hey God, so blah, blah, blah happened today. And she was just like real laid back and just like matter of fact. No fancy words, no any of this stuff. And then she'd just say, all right, amen. Like she wouldn't even get ready to finish. Like you didn't know she was about to finish. She'd just be done. And it made me learn that you don't have to be so specific. Because I always thought growing up or whatever, you had to be all these big words that you had to use, that people use. And when she did that, it was just like a cool little way of, hey, you can just have this chat. Like you don't have to be all, you know what I'm saying, all.
Is she trying to text him now?
Probably.
We need a savior, Alexa.
That's always listening and then answer.
I was just thinking about the prayer thing, and I guess just a challenge for everyone who would consider themselves a believer in prayer. But when you look at the Lord's Prayer, and I think it doesn't necessarily teach us to this is how you have to say it every single time. I think it more so models the heart of what prayer is intended to be for. And if any of you have ever prayed for any amount of time, I know for myself that even if I spend 5 or 10 minutes in prayer, if that's all I have at that moment, what it's doing is centering my heart on something other than myself, because naturally I'm selfish. Naturally I'm just going to do what I want, I'm going to say what I want. That's my life, is I'm selfish. But prayer directs my focus onto something else other than myself. So I think it benefits me in the process, but it's not for me. Like prayer, it is for me, but also God works in prayer. If we're praying for something, we do it because we believe it works, So I think that's where prayer, whether it's my thoughts or prayer, if it's a selfish conversation I'm having, it's probably not prayer. If I'm like, oh, I want this or this because I want it. If it's not I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, it kind of goes with what you were saying before. When is God's will and what I want. Prayer is not about asking God for what we want heart right with what God wants for us. So we can give him the petition of what we want, but we're really there to open our heart, like you were saying, to cleanse us of ourselves, like go and wash ourselves with my will. And that's why Jesus said, not my will, but your will be done, because this isn't about really what I want, even though I'm telling you what I'd like to have happen. But can you get my heart ready for whatever it is you're going to allow to have happen? And that's really the focus. So going back to your question about the will part, it is his will. He just wants us to be right with it when it happens.
One of the things that you said about prayer I struggle with as well, but one of the most comforting things I've ever read in the Bible, it's probably in the top 5. And it was Paul who said it, and he said that the Holy Spirit prays on our behalf, even when we don't know what to say. That right there impacted my life dramatically.
Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I hope you see what the next few weeks will entail. So part of Alpha is so it's 9 weeks, but there's 15 sessions. The only way to do that is that we're going to go on a retreat. So the first weekend in August, we have planned to get away for a Friday evening. It's just outside of town. We're not staying overnight. It's Friday evening and most of the day Saturday. So it's August 3rd and 4th. And we'll do I believe 6 sessions between those 2 days. And last time we did it, that was one of the most powerful parts of Alpha, was the retreat. I highly encourage you to bring a friend. We've got lots more advertising and stuff that we'll do this coming week. But I would like to get your information. So on the table is a sign-in sheet. If you would put your name, fill that out, and then if you would fill out one of these cards before you go, if you plan on coming back next week, to let us know how best we can provide things for you. So thank you all again for coming tonight. There have been over 20 million people worldwide who have gone through the Alpha course. And so hopefully you'll be a part of it. Well, thank you all. If you would fill out the sheet as it's going around and leave one of the cards. And I will see you all next week.